Hi, welcome to Barely Keto. I'm Carl. Let's get started. Welcome to episode 3. So we're going to cover 3 things today. One, we're going to talk about sugar, the kind that's manufactured, and how our body actually makes it on its own. Then I want to go over the pantry. We're finally at the pantry conversation. So I've got some things that I used to keep as staples, and then the transition to things that I've figured out to use in place of them. Took me a while to get there. And then we're having a guest on today with my friend Chrissy. Chrissy's going to talk to us about her journey. She's had a really remarkable success with this. She's the one that's had diabetes for quite some time and has completely turned that around. So first, let's talk about sugar. And it's time to go through the pantry. And this was the part that I wish that I'd had more guidance on, so I'm going to spend a bit of time on this. I'm going to go through, if we're eliminating flour, what that means we're getting rid of on the back end. If we're eliminating sugar, what are we getting rid of on the back end? If we're changing the oils that we can use, what impact does that have on the things that we have in our pantry or in our cupboards? So this is the day you're going to get the guidance on what to get rid of and what to bring in. And to that point, I put together a nice grocery list. This is what I keep in the house on a regular basis. It varies with recipes, but these are my staples. And I put together a meal planning worksheet for you. These will both be up on the Google Drive, so you can download them. You don't have to, try to read this. You can download them and get busy. Planning. It's what's going to get you through this. So let's go through flour, sugar, and oils. This has sort of become what used to be the root of all cooking for me to the root of all evil. So once you get rid of the processed bleached flour, you're halfway there, and everything that has it in it. And that even covers whole wheat flours as well. Anything overly processed, that's high in carbohydrates, is going to be converted by your body into sugar. So we've got to start with what we put in our body to control what our body does with it. So once you address flour, that takes out your crackers. And it's a funny way to think of it, but I think of a cracker as a delivery vehicle for a snack, right? So what do you put cheese on if not a cracker? So it was sort of, cheese was a big part of our evening with a glass of wine. And you can enjoy the cheese without the cracker, but it wasn't the same. So it was an adjustment. So crackers are gone. Even a simple cracker, like a water cracker, 10 grams of carbohydrates for every 4 crackers. That doesn't seem like worth the spend to me. What else is gone? Flour tortillas. I am a huge fan of Southwestern and Mexican cooking. I would do it, once or twice a week. And once the flour is gone, so are the tortillas. Special Sunday breakfasts. We would have pancakes every so often. That's gone. Breadcrumbs. Whether for meatballs or for coating fish or chicken or whatever, gone. And I'm a big Italian eater, so that was another thing that was a regular on our menu, was Italian food. Meatloaf, all of those had breadcrumbs in them. So those were gone. And so were the foods that went with them. Breakfast for me, I'd have the Thomas's English muffin with a little Benacal spread and like 2 equivalent eggs from egg beaters and a slice of Kraft American cheese. And that was breakfast. Gone. And so is the spread, because the spread has canola oil and you're not supposed to eat canola oil. My other breakfast backup were bagels. Now I prefer a New York bagel, but there, aren't that many places around me to get those. I live in the burbs. And so I would eat the Thomas's bagels, again toasted with a little Benacal spread and some cream cheese. And the only thing I'm going to have now is the cream cheese. That's gone. And eventually what I did was I just eliminated breakfast altogether, because it just became too much unlike anything I had been used to having for breakfast, so I got rid of it. That's the meal that I skip every day. What you also lose then are your breads. I always thought I'd been eating this for a while. It's Dave's Killer Bread, 21 whole grains with seeds. I mean, I thought, how could you go wrong? Well, apparently, this is how. I used to eat this for a while. Gone. So in the end, I lost bread, just like they say, pasta, crackers, breadcrumbs, wraps, just about everything that I enjoyed. And I want to pay special attention, because I see recipes for lasagna noodles online all the time, made from cream cheese. I don't care how many times you tell me that. They're awful. I will never eat one, and it's not worth the effort to make one. I just have found ways to kind of make something that's like a lasagna without something pretending to be a noodle, because it will never be the same. And there you go. Once you get rid of flour, you get rid of, for me, about 60% of what I was putting in my body. Once I got rid of the flour, the hunt for substitutes began. Pasta. I'd always heard about chickpea pasta. So I picked up some of this. So I figured, no, why bother? And that was the end of my quest for a substitute for pasta. I just gave up. One day on Amazon, I came across this. Palmini. I tried this. It tasted like eating the inside of a can of canned hearts of palm. It was not good. It layered well, so it was the closest thing to a lasagna I've had since I started this diet. Now, you can, in all fairness, boil this, so I'm going to try that one day. But I've had this for 5 months. It was so bad, I just haven't had the heart to go back to it, but I also don't want to throw it away. So I'm going to try to figure this one out, or at least give it a shot and see what happens. So one lifesaver I came across, thanks to my friend Chrissy, who we're going to talk to in a little bit, was this product by Schmidt, Old Time 647. Now, I don't know where they came up with 647. I'm sure there's something clever in there. One slice of this is 6 net carbs. And again, your net carbs are total carbs minus total fiber. Now, this has become a staple. I'm not a big sandwich eater anymore. I use another product. But what I did do with this is I managed to hack breadcrumbs. So this now gets used in a lot of my recipes as breadcrumbs. You'll see a lot of recipes online that tell you to use pork rinds, like shredded or crumbled pork rinds. Can't do it. And this tastes more like breadcrumbs because it is basically bread. So this was a big win. Now, I tried these in the beginning. It's the same company, 647 Schmidt, and it's their version of an English muffin. That they just weren't worth it, and once again, I took breakfast back off the menu. So this is my win. From this whole thing, this is the win. They have a couple different varieties. They even have a potato bread version. Just pay attention to your carbs, because the carb counts change based on whether you're using, this I think is their Italian loaf, and they've got a couple others. So just pay attention to that. But staple in the house now. Mission Carb Balance Wraps. This is a burrito size. And then they also have sort of soft taco size, whole wheat, regular, sun-dried tomato, and I don't have any because I didn't have any today, and they have a spinach as well. Honestly, I would not have been able to make those first 7 weeks if I didn't switch and have this product. It's delicious. I have used it in place of noodles in recipes like a lasagna bake, or something I do that's sort of like a Mexi bake, which is just, nowadays it used to have like black beans and refried beans, but because of the carbs, can't have these anymore. So they went bye-bye. So I have gotten creative with these. They toast up well too, interestingly. You kind of have to, bake them. But if you're ever looking for something crispy, it is hard to find crispy things on this diet that are, crunchy. Just love these. Now, the one thing I would caution you is every so often, the sun-dried tomato version, for whatever reason, it has holes in it. So, pick carefully at the grocery store, because if you're going to use it for something sloppy, you want to make sure it doesn't have holes in it. To round out the loss of flour in my diet, one thing I realized I was going to struggle with when it got to be Thanksgiving were thickeners. Now, traditionally, I use cornstarch. Can't have corn anymore, so you can't have cornstarch. So that was a bit of a problem for me until a friend of mine pointed out something called xanthan gum. It's naturally occurring. It will thicken up anything. You put a teaspoon of this in something while it's hot and you just stir it, and it will definitely congeal for you. I personally find it a little slimy, so depending on what it is you're using, you might want to experiment with that first before serving it to other people. But this is a really good thickener. Another one I found is psyllium, and this is used in a lot of supplemental fiber products. It's been around forever. It does not have that slimy sensation, but also doesn't thicken quite as well. So that's the trade-off. Another change I had to make in my pantry was getting rid of cornmeal, and I have been cooking with that for some time. I like cornbread, especially if I'm having chili, and I mourned that loss for a bit. So I found, and again, this was Chrissy because she's my hacker. It's called Amaretti, and this is a bottle of corn flavoring. And the ingredients aren't so bad in terms of it being, being a synthetic, and the taste was phenomenal. So I do have a couple recipes that I'm going to share with you that have this. This was expensive. I think this was like, I'm going to guess and say $60 off the top of my head, and you don't get very much. Let's take a look. It's just a small bottle. I mean, this is my finger, so you can see how small it is. A little bit goes a long way. They have a lot of different flavorings that I'm looking forward to trying, but boy, is it expensive. So once I got rid of flour and the ingredients that I knew, very easily had flour in it, I started looking for recipes. And the first thing I turned to was this coconut flour. Coconut flour, I remember the first thing I made with these were wings, because luckily the wing sauce that I use doesn't have carbs in it or sugar. And the first thing I noticed was how gritty coconut flour is. Nothing is going to be as processed as traditional bleached flour. This is my first bag. I'm about halfway through. I've had it since August, so I don't do a lot of baking anymore. I've seen recipes. I tried a bagel recipe. It was one of the worst things I'd ever put in my mouth. And, it's the leavening. The leavening is just off. And so you might want to just, while you make the adjustment to your life, just realize that you're going to have to kind of figure some things out before you start trying to substitute things. And I'll share my lessons learned, but this is the one thing I learned about coconut flour. The other thing I learned about coconut flour is that it burns really easily and absorbs a lot of water. So just things to keep in mind if you want to start playing around with it on your own. The next thing I came to was almond flour. Almond flour is it's a bit better processed in terms of it's finer in its milling. Two things with this: I also find it a bit gritty, less so than the coconut. I also find that when you're baking with it, like as a coating, it will burn fairly quickly, so you have to kind of adjust for that. And keep an eye on food. You can't just rely on your past experience with. Very recently, I came across a new product, a couple of them actually. I'm a big fan of America's Test Kitchen, and they're always talking about the King Arthur Baking Company and their products. And I found a keto wheat flour. It's got a very velvety feeling. You can tell from just moving it around in the bag. This probably feels more like this than any other product I've found yet. But I'm looking forward to trying this and seeing, what can I do with this. I used to make popovers quite a bit, and I'm wondering if I can hack a popover with this stuff. Another product that they have is almond flour. And again, I can tell just from the, squeezing it through the bag that it's more finely ground than this. Now it'll be interesting to see what happens to it when moisture hits it. Because I have noticed that some of the things that you use as substitutes, once you open them and they get exposed to just the atmosphere, they get a little funky from the moisture in the air. But, I'm going to give it a go and see what happens. Next on the chopping block, refined sugar. That's white, powdered, brown, dark brown, no more sugar. Once you eliminate this, that takes out a lot of other things from your diet. Now, I say giving up sugar mostly because there are certain things that I just wasn't willing to give up yet. I'm still haven't crossed that bridge. I figure when I kind of tap out or top out at my weight loss from the way I am doing things, then I'll turn the screw a bit more. And the things that I keep it around for, I like a lot of sauces. So these are the things I'm not ready to give up yet. Just can't do it. They're sticking with me for a while yet. But when you start eliminating things, there's obvious ones that can go right away. Syrup, gone. No more syrup. When you start looking at getting rid of things that you have that you consume on a regular basis that you may not have been aware were high in sugar, there is my personal favorite, ketchup. Ketchup is very high in sugar. I love ketchup. I always thought of French fries simply as ketchup delivery vehicles. Not that they're not delicious, but that's how much I love ketchup. And when I tried to figure out a ketchup, obviously I just said no sugar ketchup, which brought me to Heinz no sugar added ketchup. Now we learned earlier that you have to watch for anything with an os in it, and on the back, there it is. So just because something says no sugar added, they mean this. But as we've learned, there are all kinds of forms of sugars. So these two, can't have them. Finally, just recently, I found something called unsweetened. And unsweetened seems to be a better indicator from what I'm finding for things that have neither sugar nor the artificial sugars. Peanut butter, I'm not a big peanut butter fan, but my husband is. Same thing. Peanut butter had to go because it has sugar. Same thing. Be careful of the marketing and the wording that they use. And always check your labels for something ending in OSE. Salsa. I've said a couple times I like Southwestern food and Mexican food. I did find a salsa that doesn't have sugar in it. Watch out for agave syrup. That's still considered a sweetener. So if you're going to go hardcore on that, can't have that either, but this is good. And I was so grateful to learn that this has no carbs and no sugar. Frank's Red Hot Wings Buffalo. Savory. So the sugar's gone. And now you have to come to terms with yourself. Are you going to be an artificial sweetener person, or are you going to do the no artificial sweeteners? There are a plethora of choices. These are the ones I've tried personally. Stevia by Splenda. This is a liquid. You sort of start low and slow with a drop or two in whatever it is you want to sweeten and see how that goes. I tried this in a cup of coffee and my mouth felt like it was coated in vegetable oil. And it took hours to get that sensation out of my mouth, so I have never used this one again personally. There is something called Swerve. I like Swerve, such as it is. These are my first two bags, so clearly I'm not really using a lot of this. For the holidays, I did use these to bake a pumpkin pie cheesecake, just to cut down on the calories. and it was delicious. I thought it was okay. I just have to be careful with this. I'm one of those people, if you do your research on the intermittent fasting, you'll find that for some people, eating artificial sweeteners is going to make you feel hungry. So if I use this in the morning, I couldn't do it. And my cardiologist did say no artificial sweeteners, and so does Dr. Fung. So I try to find a balance. Some days I just want something sweet. Now the one that I prefer is this monk fruit. Monk fruit's been around for centuries. I hadn't heard of it because I was enjoying this. But this isn't bad. It's got kind of a caramel flavor to it, so I like that. It's got a complexity to it. It doesn't have an aftertaste for me, so that's what I've landed on. But you are going to need to decide for yourself: are you going to be an artificial sweetener person or not? So I haven't made a dessert in months since I started this diet. Chrissy, on the other hand, who you'll meet later, she really embraces this, and she's done well. She's been tracking with her A1Cs. She's been losing the weight. So for her, it's fine. I just haven't gotten there yet. And perhaps when I turn the screws a bit more on eliminating some of the other things, I'm going to start craving some kind of sweet. But right now, luckily, I don't have sweet cravings. Let's talk oils. That was another change that I had to make. So I used to use Pam. I've been a Pam man for a long time. Canola oil. Can't have canola oil. So I already know coconut oil out of the mix. I've had probably 6 to 8 cardiologists specifically tell me not to consume coconut oil. So I don't. I figure I'll trust them in the science. I did find when I was looking at recipes, I kept seeing ghee referenced, and I thought, how incredibly pretentious. Why would you need that when you have butter? So I bought some for the purpose of this channel. It's expensive for one, but because I had it in the house, I didn't want to waste it. And the only thing I really use it for are the butter dishes. So if I'm going to have a casserole or something, I'll throw this in the bottom of the pan, and it works really well. It's very convenient that way. So this, I don't know that I'd get it again, but it's not bad. What I cook with on a regular basis is either peanut oil, because vegetable oil is also out, avocado oil, and of course the staple, extra virgin olive oil. Now each of these has different smoke points and cooking points, so take the time to look up what those are. The other things I got rid of were my Campbell's soups. The thing that they lost me on are their oils. So they say vegetable oil, and then they don't commit to what kind of oil they use. And since some of them are types that I'm not supposed to be eating anymore for my cardiovascular health, they had to go. And what I've done is I have found recipes to make these for myself, and the benefit of that is they also have less salt. So one of these days you'll get the recipe for how to make cream of mushroom condensed soup, which I use in a lot of my casseroles. I grew up on casseroles. And then finally, I want to talk to you about shelf-stable products. Dr. Fung makes a big deal out of this. My cardiologist made a big deal out of this. If it's supposed to be a product like blue cheese that would require refrigeration, and it can sit out on the counter for 1.5 years without refrigeration, you don't want it. And that wraps that up. So, see you on the other side.
Walk me through how you came to like starting this again. I know that you had sort of an aha moment after you got diagnosed with diabetes. You started the keto diet for a while. You dropped 30 pounds, and then you were like kind of fell off the wagon a bit. And then this summer I started doing this, and then you kind of got very curious about what was going on with the intermittent fasting. So I gave you the book. Like, what happened next?
So you gave me the book, and I read the book in like 2 days, and I was really impressed with the subject material in the book, and I really needed to get my act together as far as I couldn't run around pretending I didn't have diabetes anymore. So I immediately employed the intermittent fasting, and this all played out around the end of September of 2021. And at that time, my morning fasting blood sugars were over 200 in the morning. So once I started the intermittent fasting, which I really like breakfast, so I choose to run my I am off the fast between 9 and 5. I don't eat anything after 5 o'clock. So sticking to that diligently, I was able to bring my fasting morning blood sugars down to maybe about like 120 within 2 to 3 weeks of starting the intermittent fasting. So that was like a radical improvement in such a short period of time. I mean, I'm still kind of blown away by it all. And I immediately switched over to a ketogenic diet where I try to keep my carbohydrates, my net carbohydrates, to around 20 grams a day. So that's very hard to do, but you kind of get into the habit of doing that. And in short order, I was able to get my body into a ketogenic state. So that's switching your body over, depleting your glycogen reserves, and moving your body from deriving all its energy from carbohydrates and sugar over to burning fat for energy. And so I've been on a ketogenic diet since end of September, and January 26th, it'll be about 4 months, and I am down 50 pounds right now.
Which is amazing. Congratulations.
Thanks.
And we should also say that Chrissy stopped smoking before all of this. So she,
Yes.
as far as I'm concerned, gets double props for giving up the smoking and changing her diet within the same like 3 months.
Yes.
Yeah. That was
Yeah,
impressive.
like I said, the smoking, definitely quitting the smoking really was a injection to the self-esteem or confidence, because I really thought I would never ever be able to quit smoking, and quitting smoking really empowered me and encouraged me that if I can do that, then I should be able to pretty much do anything.
Was there anything beyond diabetes that was motivating you for when you really kind of sat down and were like, okay, I've got to make some changes?
Well, sure. I mean, when you're carrying around that much weight, I mean, everything is hard. I mean, I didn't even even just getting a shower and getting ready, or going to the grocery store. I really felt like this at this point, like this is really chaining me. I'm not living the life I want to be leading. A reluctance to kind of go out or go visit people, or and also I'm a 48-year-old woman. I'm single. I'm divorced. One of my children has just moved to the West Coast. My other one, has plans to move away in 2 years. And, I mean, not that that wasn't a major motivator, but initially, yes, I certainly would like to feel confident enough in myself and feel attractive and get back out there at some point and try and meet somebody. But walk in that body, it would have never happened. And I sort of realized that, I might have started with that in mind, but as this thing has worn along, it's become a more of a victory for me. At this point, I'm doing it for me.
Which is the only way it will ever work.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
As with all change. Chrissy and I are very different in that I'm very I'm not an app kind of a guy. I'm not a data hound, especially when it's data I don't really want to be looking at. so as I've gotten my legs under me, I've been just relying on the scale and just trusting to the science and following the plan. Whereas, Chrissy has 4 or 5 apps and a couple devices that you use on the regular. Yeah. So for those of you out there who need or want or like the knowledge and the tracking to keep yourself accountable to yourself, or just to watch the trends happen as they unfold, she's going to walk us through like a day in the life of her apps and her tools. Okay.
I am a data nerd for sure.
What goes with the Mensa?
I work for a bank. I'm a compliance officer with the biggest bank in the country, and I do metrics for them. So we love our numbers. So these are some of the apps that I use to keep me accountable. 4 primarily. I use Lose It, Fitbit, Feel Fit, that's my scale, and Fastic. So let's just take a quick look at some of these. Okay, so this is Lose It. There's a premium version you can pay for with a few upgrades, but to be quite honest, you could probably get away with just using the straight up, free version that's available in the App Store for iTunes. And basically, obviously, you can add your lunches, breakfast, any snacks, X, Y, and Z. Let me show you a day where I literally have filled one out. So let's look at December 16th. Okay. So what you do is you can obviously put all your food in, and this will tell you how many calories, what you consumed, how many, if you're hitting your macros for the ketogenic diet, I don't use that, of your protein for the day, where you're falling, your carbs, how many fats you ate for the day, and your net carbs. Stick with Friday the 17th, where I only went over by one carb. Okay. So this is a great app because not only it allows you, if for instance, for breakfast, if you go to the store, you want to purchase a food, you can hit this, what do you call this? The QR code, or and it'll read the nutrition label, and it'll add the food right into the database of all the foods that you can pick from. If you go grocery shopping and these are the foods that you're going to buy, it keeps track of what are your foods in particular. And then also, if you're going to convert a recipe, okay, you can enter your recipe into this app with all the ingredients down below. So let me just, these are the ingredients in this recipe. It tallies up all of their calories and all the nutritional information. You can enter a serving size, and then it'll generate what every serving of that meal would be and saves it. It's great. And then the app links to any fitness trackers. So my Fitbit pulls right into here. So it calculates how many calories you burned each day, what your target burn is. And if you can meet your target burn, it'll give you extra calories to, you can eat as a treat. Weight, you can add how many cups of water you've had every single day. If you're trying to hit a certain amount of ounces, body fat, tracks your steps, sleep, and your glucose. Back in December, I was measuring my glucose 3 or 4 times a day. And it'll tell you what time you took it. And then let's see. And so if you want to see your performance, you can see what your performance is over 6 months, a year, 3 months. And it'll show you what your targets are for fats, carbohydrates, protein. The app allows you to put all of your custom measurements in on your own. By and large, great app. Can't go wrong. Can't go wrong with this app at all. I use Fastic for my intermittent fasting. Start your fast. It's got a clock built into it. Start it and end it, and it shows you how you're progressing. When your blood sugar is dropping,
How does it do that? Is it just sort of like a function of time, or is it measuring something from your body and your Fitbit?
This is basically telling you. So after about 11 hours after your last meal is when you start entering into a fat burning stage. When you get about 16 hours out, you're in ketosis. And then autophagy about 16 hours after your last meal. And it gives you some information about all those. And it asks you how you're feeling, and it will track your progress, how many hours you fasted for the week. And then it's like, so for instance, since I started this, I've fasted for 1,257 hours. And again, what also is sort of great about this app is, let's say it gets to be 5:30 and I haven't started the fast. The app is going to send me a kind of a message. Hey, you haven't hit the button, or you haven't started your fast. It will allow you to go backwards and enter that information. Bought myself a Fitbit. It's great. It's same thing. Steps, activity. This Fitbit will track if I go out and walk in the neighborhood. It's got GPS embedded in it, so it'll show me, where I've walked. Everything. You can track everything here. Heart rate. You can take your EKG. Stress. How much you're sleeping. The sleep score. It gives you a sleep score every day. It gives you detailed analytics about, are you in deep sleep, REM sleep, light sleep. It's wonderful. I did go out and buy a smart scale. I have an Abion scale, and this is great because it will show you it does much more than just show you your weight. It is tracking, your subcutaneous fat, your visceral fat, BMI, BMR, all of your measurements. It's Bluetooth enabled, so it really will just literally, it takes everything.
Oh, can you go
and
back?
It's great.
Can you go back
What
to
do
the
you want?
left? Is this where on the left hand side, is that where you first started keto and then you kind of
Yeah.
quit and you just picked that up again?
Well,
Okay.
I bought this scale in July of 2020, right? And
Mhm.
then like right after I was diagnosed with diabetes, I had 3 months where I dropped 30 pounds, right? So that was great. I gave up on it, right? And so when I started back in, this is says September 30th, 2021, um, this is, how far I've come. So this is when this diet started last year. And this is where I was at as of this morning.
Amazing. Yeah. The intermittent fasting really made a difference.
Yeah, definitely. Again, you can buy this. I'll show you the scale. You can buy it on Amazon. It's very cheap. It's less than $30, and it'll send your metrics right over to your phone. So, oh, and the yoga. So I'm doing yoga. Let me just turn this phone real fast. DDPY yoga. It's you have to pay for this app, but it's great. This app has been really helpful. It's allowed, certainly improved my flexibility. I feel like it's improved some of the strength in my joints. It is a way to incorporate exercise into, my daily routine that didn't really involve me running, jumping, lifting weights. And so I've been able to kind of, reap some rewards from it without injuring myself. Now I've been at it. I just finished the first 14-week program. They have all different kinds of programs depending on where you're at in your, fitness journey. There's people for if you're in the bed to chair, chair to standing, standing with chair, and beginner, and it goes all the way up to advanced. So I just finished the standing with chair program, and now I'm starting the beginner program. I haven't started yet because I have COVID, but anyway, it walks you through week by week by week, which days you're doing it, which days you're not doing it, days that you have off. And again, it allows you, to see your progress. I can't emphasize it enough that sometimes when you're losing weight, especially when you're larger like I am, losing 50 pounds, if somebody smaller was to lose 50 pounds, it might really be noticeable. On me, maybe not so much, but by taking my measurements, and taking progress pictures, you can kind of see, get that feedback that you're looking for, right? You might not feel or think you look like you've lost a lot of weight, but the numbers, they don't lie. So you can just add your measurements in, like where you're at.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it is. Where your biceps, triceps, bust, waist, upper thigh, this sort of thing. So very, very cool. Worth looking into for sure. And that's really it.
So thanks for taking us on the technology tour. That was very helpful.
No problem.
Scares the hell out of me, but I'm I'm glad you get a lot out of it. Yeah. What keeps you motivated?
Well, I would say I'm committed at this point. I was motivated to start, but I'm committed because I'm committed at this point. I'm challenging myself, right? I'm proud of the progress that I've made so far. I kind of want to see where I can take it. I keep setting little goals for myself. My next goal, like I mentioned, is I'm going to try and run in a 5K on April 2nd in Philadelphia. So I'm actively involved in a Couch to 5K app too, which I didn't show that, but anybody can find it. I am 48 years old. I'm going to be 50. I still am very much interested in traveling and seeing the world. And I'm not going to be able to do that in the body that I was in, right? I want to be able to go out to the store or grocery store. I don't want to break out into some sweat, I want to be healthy. I want to live a long life like anybody else does. I want to go out and I want to get out of this lifetime being able to put on a nice dress and feel beautiful in it. And, it's little tiny things like that.
What did you feel in your body first? Like when you first noticed that there was a shift going on in your skin, like what were some of the things that you saw as
you mean after the diet or before that led to
after the diet? Like once you started
yeah.
really, following hardcore and adding intermittent fasting, like what was your body telling you beyond the data and the measuring your glucose and that sort of thing?
Well, I certainly had much more energy. It's a different kind of energy. I was so sluggish and lethargic in the afternoon, eating these 2,000 calorie lunches full of carbs and all the bread. It was terrible. That's completely gone. My skin, obviously I'm drinking a lot more water. My skin has been completely clear, like no problems with my skin at all at that point. I will sleep better. I would say I was sleeping better on the diet as well. Um, oh, no more swelling in my lower extremities, ankles. There were shoes. I got to the point where there were shoes that I could not wear because I could not get my foot into the shoe. Not a problem anymore. And I thought, I was literally had to go out and get compression socks.
Mm.
And I was like, we have reached an all new low. Like, this is ridiculous. I mean, people in hospitals that are in beds, confined to their beds, are wearing compression stockings. Why would I need compression stockings? That's just ridiculous. When you're shuttling around 50 less pounds, I mean, I can take the trash out now. It's not a nightmare. And, and I don't feel as lazy because with my kids here, I really relied on them. Can you get the groceries? Can you take the trash out? Will you go get the mail? And I'm like, they're not my little indentured servants. Like, I realized the only reason I was doing it is because I was too fat and too lazy to get my ass down to the bottom of the driveway.
What one piece of advice would you give someone that's looking to change their lifestyle around getting control of their diet?
I would say that you have to make the commitment to yourself. You're worthy of doing it. You have to commit to it. And you have to see it through, because motivation does fade. And like anything else, I would say you have to get yourself to the point where it's a habit and it is a lifestyle. It's not a quick fix. You're not, if you're looking to undo years worth of damage in 3 months time, you're bound to fail. You're bound to fail. You have to, and it's not easy, and it does involve sacrifice. You are going to find yourself in a situation where you are out at a restaurant and you've got to make the better decision, right? You have to really kind of ask yourself, like when I'm on the treadmill, I spend a lot when I'm on the treadmill and I'm sweating and I'm tired and I'm pushing myself. I have to go there and I have to remind myself why am I doing this? I'm going to grind it out, because ultimately, at the end of the day, the satisfaction that I was getting from a cheeseburger is never going to satisfy what I need deep down inside, right? No sundae, no chocolate, no cheeseburger is going to get me there. And now I kind of embrace it. Like, I like the sweat. I really, when I come up from the basement, sweating my ass off from the treadmill, I feel good. Now that I'm running on the treadmill, I'm like, if people could see me, they wouldn't even believe this. And I feel good. Like, I'm very much optimistic for the future. And everybody should want to, I really do. Like I said before, I feel like the best years very well might be in front of me instead of behind me.
I've known you for some time. I've seen some of your arcs. I've seen you try some of these things. And I think it's fair to say you weren't always doing them for yourself.
No.
But this year, and then you'd get let down by the people you were doing it for, and that would be the end of the attempt, right? Because you would just nail the door shut and go back. I have never seen you so switched on about you. Like, looking after Chrissy has become your job this year. I know and you can elaborate on this. You've got kids you want to set a better example for, and you've said that to me, and I've just seen such a different shift in you, from your decision to quit smoking to dropping 50 pounds, to even things like embracing your artwork, which she is an amazing artist, and I will be putting a picture of a pumpkin up next to you, because she is just so talented and so smart and so funny. And you just really, it's been such a pleasure to watch you be like, fuck everybody else, I'm doing this for me. And it has stuck in a way that I've never seen it stick before. And committing to do the run, I never thought you would ever utter those words. And I will be there.
I am telling everybody about the run, because I feel like the more people I tell about the run, that is the motivator. If I tell people that I'm going to do it, because God forbid, I would never want somebody to come back to me and be like, I thought you were going to do this, right? So I will run in that run. It's really interesting, some of the reactions I've gotten when I've told people this. And somebody who's close to me said, I said, oh, I'm going to run in a 5K. And they said, what year? I said, oh, yeah, no, I'm going to do that on April 2nd. So in a little over 2 months. So it's just kind of funny how there's some people that are like, yeah, you're going to do it. And some of my friends, like some of my friends at work who are very like, people that exercise and stuff, also great reaction out of them. You've got people you have people in your life that are like, yes, you're going to do that. And how about I'm going to enroll too, because I'm going to run with you in this run, which, is fantastic. I will run in the run. And then, we'll see where it goes from there. At this point, I am in a challenge against myself. I'm not really not doing it for anybody else other than me at this point.
Which is how it needs to be, or
right,
we're never successful. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be so vulnerable and open, and
no problem.
I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me. And thanks for giving me that book.
And she means that sincerely. It was
a game changer. It was a game changer for sure.
She was expressing interest. I wasn't just shoving something at her because
I can't even tell you the last time I read a book. And who would be like, oh God, a diabetes book? But 2 days. Like, I don't think I've ever read a book in 2 days. I read that book in 2 days. Yeah.
I've read it twice now. I agree.
Yeah.
I'll put it up over your shoulder. Read the book.
Yeah, right. This book.
Yeah. And this is my good friend Chrissy, who is very gracious because I did not hit the record button for the last one. So we're going to have to do this whole thing again.
Oh, man.
She loves me. It's okay.